And I can put the parking lot even on separate. Yeah.
And that would probably even have been a good idea for town meeting.
Well,
so that people can understand that that's the total expense, but it would be broken up over a certain amount of time if that's how it's going.
and given the construction costs and the fact that we haven't really nailed down on many of these projects exactly what we need to do, the numbers gives us an order of magnitude. I mean, I'm still hoping the fire department has a $2 million solution, but you know, but at least to give us an idea of what
potentially sitting out there, worst case scenario. The highway department, you know, the $3 million is that number I thought I heard for the intersection there at Wilbraham, Allen, and that. And then the 600,000 for the bridges. But wasn't that number coming in higher than 6, Bob? He may not.
That's muted. Bob, can you unmute?
Yeah, sorry.
Not sure is even listed.
Yeah. The school department, I pretty much just took the items that they presented 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, and just plopped them in there as they were listed. As we get more items in there, we can manipulate some of those things around forward and backward, you know, to try to get it in there. Water district, I got 3 there. They hadn't said anything, but I know that discussion in the select meeting, like last week or the week before, about having to do something there was bigger than that 300.
Well, there's an article on for town meeting next week. That's $700,000.
Would that fall in 22 capital? Yeah.
It was
7.
Well, it's an article from borrow.
It's a borrowing, and they have not defined what their time period is.
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
So, but 700 is the number they're working with right this week.
So the number out there at the end there should be 7 instead of 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, by the time we get our act together, it'll be spent. We just don't know how we're paying for it.
Yeah. And then the history will be in the spreadsheet as it goes forward. The housing authority, from what I understand from John, is that there's more money that ever falls in the capital on that. It's whatever he said, enterprise fund or whatever.
Well, it's off our books. It's a separate entity.
It's separate entity.
But it is owned by
it's probably the town.
I've never seen a budget. I've never seen a dollar go in or out.
I know it's on the town. It's the deed holder or whatever listed is the town.
Yeah, they have state and federal money that they fund it, and I mean they buy snowplow services from us. The CPA sometimes helps them out. But other than that,
so housing authority could come off of this.
Yeah, I don't think it's in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, unless this was a specific item, very specific item, I wouldn't carry anything.
Okay, I'll take it off when I redo this. The library, I just threw $1 million in there. They didn't add, or 100,000. They didn't ask for anything, but you know, over the course of 5 years, what kind of technology might come up? We want to leave anything in there or just leave it off the books? The other thing is, so we realize that there is a library that they might come up with something.
And they did a building study a while ago, and they were talking about it, and then things went a little sideways. And was that before the year of blood in the streets?
Blood in the streets.
Blood in the streets, when they turned off the street lights, closed the senior center. Yeah, the bad
2005, I think it was.
But so they looked at it, but I had not heard a peep out of them.
Okay.
And of course, they don't have their own building to maintain.
Yeah, so it's just whatever. The only thing is if there was any new technology that they might spend money on, but that wouldn't be very much money, I would guess.
They do their own technology, and they keep it in a line item. It's very modest.
Okay, and they've got technology grants as well.
Okay, they're very grant.
Yeah, I'll drop that 100 grand out of
They
there.
also have the friends also.
Yeah,
from the library do quite a few things.
Okay. And if something does come up, we're going to put something back. Parks department, again, same thing. I threw 100 grand out there. And I was figuring that this meeting here, we'd probably drop it out. But then listening to the select meeting, it sounds like they decide they're going to give the Parks Department a vehicle to drive around.
That's the first I'm hearing of it.
That's what they said Monday. Which one of the police or the vehicle that the fire department's getting rid of, the Parks Department wants it. So we're gonna take a piece of junk, give it to the Parks Department.
Wasn't their whole deal contingent on them trading in those two vehicles for that one vehicle
Because it
for the
was,
fire department?
because it become a
Well,
maintenance cost.
They
Yeah,
have to do a municipal bid to sell
to take it to the junkyard is fine with me, because
Yeah, but
the
I
two
don't
are
think-
supposed to come off.
it. I know, but because
Put
of
that
how,
aside, regardless. The whole point of getting rid of the truck was because it's.
High expenses.
It's becoming a maintenance cost.
Right.
Right.
So transferring it to another department doesn't really address that problem.
No, I think it actually is a big mistake. I would say, if they need a vehicle, it should be a capital request. But also, as we get farther in here, we're gonna see on my other spreadsheet that there's a huge waste of vehicles in one department in town.
Well, I was gonna say, what does Parks do that they need a
They
vehicle? Now, I haven't
tow-
listened to the meeting yet, so I don't know what
They
was
have
said,
a
but-
maintenance person who uses his personal vehicle to tow a mower and trailer from field to field.
Yeah, and they actually have ads in the paper now for additional maintenance people.
So hold on, what are they mowing besides,
The
The
two
school.
fields,
TWB.
PWB,
and that's being done by Parks and Rec?
yeah.
yeah.
So
Highway
that's-
did that.
Highway used to do those fields.
I thought highway did
Park
that.
and
Way
Rec.
back when, I mean, the schools did.
Well, the
Parks and-
conversation at the meeting sounded like everyone on the select board was in favor of giving them a vehicle.
Park and Rec took over the mowing from Highway Department a few years back.
Mhm.
Because they weren't satisfied with the service they were getting. So they bought a mower, I'm pretty sure you approved it. And this guy goes and buys gas at the gas station, even though we have a tank. And, sends in the receipts for reimbursements and tows this thing around and probably stores it at his house for all I know.
So it's just a matter of moving a mower between the rec and the schools?
I'm telling you what I know, which is limited, and it's just from being around.
Well, then there was also conversation in the meeting about them having to go to get keys when picking up keys for something from the police station.
Don't know.
That justifies a vehicle?
I would give them a vehicle, but I wouldn't give them an old junker.
Well,
There's other vehicles coming down the list down here, but I wouldn't give them that.
it's.
I thought there was something about also sports equipment. I'm not justifying this. I mean, I was like
I have no
thinking
idea.
about this too, but having somebody having to throw
Yeah.
bases or something into the car or
This hand-me-down equipment thing, well, there's no such thing as a free kit, as they say.
No, it's just like the ambulance we have sitting over there.
A couple of years ago, we bought a cruiser. We spent a little more than we wanted to because there wasn't going to be a trade-in. The old cruiser got all remarked and painted red and new decals on it, became the fire department's truck, the chief's vehicle. And that vehicle got all remarked and repainted and repaired and became the dog officer's vehicle. It would have been cheaper to just throw the others in the river and buy a new cruiser, but, they're free. And because of that, the town doesn't get a vote on it because of the way that trickles down.
Mhm.
It's a little disingenuous. Okay, soapbox mode off.
Anyhow,
I'll have to listen to the meeting. I haven't
listened to the meeting.
It just seems odd that we have a public grounds crew and we have to have a separate one for the sports fields.
I mean, they couldn't just borrow one of the highway trucks to do that.
They couldn't work together in some manner.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what to do with that number that's sitting out there, but it's definitely not $100,000.
Well. And they have, and they haven't got any requests for money at town meeting or anything, so.
Well, no, because if they give them a vehicle, they're gonna
Well,
then they'll have to
need
change their
money
maintenance line, right?
because
But
they're
it
gonna
still
have to
won't be
maintain.
but it won't be a capital item at that point.
No,
But then would that mean that they'll have to change their line item because they'll have to include maintenance in that somewhere?
Maybe.
whatever.
They have a general maintenance line.
Plus
And
they have,
now you'd be
a-
adding the vehicles.
plus they have a revolving fund.
Which I don't know how much is in that revolving now, but I mean, it used to be a significant amount of money went through that.
Transfer station, I haven't heard anything more on the transfer station, so
Nothing capital.
nothing. Other than Mark needs a couple acres from the solar panel company up there, and the solar company panel just wants 14 grand more on their lease. Cemetery, anything there? I know he put a fence there.
They were talking about some paving at one point, but they hadn't, I think they might have a couple years ago got the survey work done on where they're gonna extend a driveway or something, so.
They've been doing that work through CPA together with, I don't know if it's the revolving or their maintenance accounts, but they're not running it as capital. And most of those are pretty modest expenditures.
That's true. It probably wouldn't be more than $25,000 job or something.
Okay. So then we get into highway department, which was supposed to have some information, but we can skip the highway department and go down to where I see the big dollar ticket item is in the police department. The spreadsheet that I gave you, the second spreadsheet, if you look at the second spreadsheet, this is the information that someone gave me a while back on police vehicle spending, okay? In 6 years, they've spent $68,000 on vehicle maintenance. In 6 years, they average 5,700 miles per vehicle. Or no, 57,000 miles per vehicle. And it works out to, I believe, if my math's right, $1.18 a mile in maintenance costs over a 6-year period.
Is the 68,000 the total for all their vehicles?
Police vehicles.
For all the police vehicles?
And the mileage that was listed on all of them versus the acquisition of the vehicle worked out to 57,000 miles a year that they're putting on their vehicles.
Total, not each.
Total.
Really? That's all?
They show on the sheet that they showed me 186 miles per day is all they're driving. So at 57,000 miles a year, most industries that I've been associated with, you don't replace a vehicle until it gets to about 80,000. We're replacing them at about 40,000.
That doesn't seem right though. And I only say that because on the scanner I have at home, they check in every time they get, like they start a shift or something, they check their mileage. And the mileage numbers fluctuate significantly.
But all I can go is off that 25-year record, 25-year vehicle record that the town gave us back in December. We had the mileage listed off of every vehicle. It had the date acquired on every vehicle. A simple math calculation works out to 57,000 miles a year.
But we've been using 100,000 as the replacement mileage.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing, I don't have that sheet here with me. I have to pull it up, but I mean, they're not putting anywhere near that kind of miles on the vehicles.
That's surprising to me. I want to double check that data,
Yeah.
the source data.
Because I know that dispatch keeps track of what their mileage is. And so I would be interested just to see, even if you went over.
Now, this is my copy, but you can gander. The other thing is you notice on the spreadsheet that you have, I highlighted a lot of items in pink. Those are items over $1,000, which, yeah, there's going to be some items over $1,000, but it makes you wonder when you spend 1 month, $3,700 in tires from the tire company.
So all of these expenses you have listed by month, like, so I'm assuming 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is like July, August, September of that year, correct?
That's a month, yeah.
And so everything at the bottom, are those dollar amount totals? Because
They're all
they're just
dollar
numbers.
totals.
Okay.
You will notice that the big numbers are in June.
Fiscal year end.
Yeah.
They bought 18 tires last June. And I know they didn't get them all installed in June, but that's what they're doing. That's why you'll see some of those big hits, especially the June ones.
And in some cases that makes sense. We used to buy our trucks when we bought our heavy equipment, the 18-wheelers. We would take all the double axle tires off and sell them to a tire dealer.
Yeah,
$450 a tire, and then we would buy retreads at $100 a tire.
Yeah, almost all your PIC numbers are in May and June.
Why is that?
Because I got $3 grand left in my maintenance budget.
Okay, yeah,
It's gonna be turned into a pumpkin on July 1st.
right,
So why don't I buy 12 tires? I'm gonna use them.
right.
I could argue either way. Yeah, but you know, he just wants, you know, that's just kind of their operating procedure. Always,
Sure.
I bristle a little.
I mean, $5,000 is a lot to spend on something from a communication company.
I don't know what the radios in those vehicles cost.
Well, but I mean, I thought all the radios should fall under whatever they do when they come back for radios.
No, when they buy a cruiser, outfitting that cruiser with the equipment is part of the cruiser price.
Yeah, and they just had the town, something with, because of the frequency changes, they just had to spend money to get the radios upgraded.
Yeah,
Because the frequency is different than.
but that's most likely part of that capital that we acquisition that we did for the radio system. But every time they buy a car for say it's $40,000, the car is 32. It's the guy out there in the driveway swapping all the lights and radios over that is another $5,000 or $6,000.
On the police, his original quest, they had one vehicle, two vehicles, one, two, etc. I moved it at least just to one vehicle a year because I just think they're wasting money.
I think we should investigate the mileage situation because maybe we can do it every other year.
Well, but that also goes to the point is if Parks and Recs need a vehicle, give them one of these police that they want to replace. Give them a 2019 instead of a 2008 or whatever that.
But are they looking for a pickup truck so they can put crap in the back of it versus these are all SUVs?
I don't recall from the.
Well, that's true.
I don't recall.
You're right. One of the fire vehicles we're disposing of is one of these, and the other one is a pickup truck.
Right.
The 1986 pickup truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, having a bed.
They're much similar to fix.
Yeah.
Are they standard?
That's true. The guy would have to be able to drive his jet.
I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have been an issue. They wouldn't have asked if that was the case. Jimmy.
Well, as far as, let me just say with the police department, we had some discussions starting last year because a resident raised the issue of the replacement schedule for police vehicles.
Right.
Because we have been using 100,000 miles as the replacement mileage based on the recommendation of the chief. That was two primary issues. One is the trading value dropped significantly once you went over the 100. And second was the maintenance costs would escalate over the 100. It was somewhat of an arbitrary number, but it's a number to work with. Mm-hmm. And this was Jeff that we had this conversation, but he agreed to revisit the issue because everything is switched over now to Explorers. They're using Ford Explorers. And some question about what their maintenance schedule would be in comparison to the old, what they're using for a while. They had a Tahoe for a while, and they had
a bunch of those other Fords.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I can see it.
and so there was talk about changing that $100,000 benchmark and trying to push that up.
Because they were expecting
the newest vehicle is the Tahoe.
Yeah, but that was that brand new one that's like fully loaded, right? That we were supposed to be one of.
Here's the mileage. This was December mileage. Okay. The #1 Interceptor to 2018 only had 36,600 miles on it. The Tahoe was bought in November of 19, only had 3,000 miles on it. That's 2 years, 3,000 miles. The 2017 Interceptor had 59,000 miles on it. The 2017 other Interceptor had 77,000. A 2014 only had 60,000. So we got two 2017s with 77 miles, and here we got a 14 that's only got 60,000 miles on it. And then we have another Tahoe, 2019, it's only got 1,000 miles.
I don't understand the wicked low mileage ones.
I don't either. But
The real old one that's got 60,000 miles on it.
yeah,
My guess is it's the plain blue one they go to court in. That they kept one that wasn't a lemon and left it as kind of a quote unquote unmarked so that they could do errands with it. But we obviously you need better source information to make sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and we have a new chief, and I'm sure he's going to be open to working with someone to try to develop a rapport on going forward.
Because we do have to get a handle on these.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you know, whether it's 100,000, I said 80,000, but with the mileage I'm calculating out, you know, they're only putting 67,000 miles a year on the vehicles.
I mean, 50 grand a year even just to buy one car is significant money.
Yeah.
And if we could, if we can, change the replacement schedule from, 1 month to, 1 year to a year and a half. Over the course of years, that's significant savings.
And
as long
along
as
with,
it's not, impacting the reliability of the vehicles, why wouldn't we do that?
I don't see where it would. Not when they're spending $1 a mile to maintain it.
Yeah. Well, again, obviously they have a lot more idle time than my car has, but still.
Kind of tough, it's tough mileage, but still.
Sitting at the donut shop.
Bagel shop.
That sounds healthier.
That's where I see them more.
That's community outreach, come on.
So where do we go with that then? It sounds like we've just said that we need
Well,
better
it's something to talk
information.
about. We'll put it in the notes. I mean, so far they haven't requested to buy one,
Sure.
but I don't know if they're just going to go buy
Well, they've
it.
got one in this year.
There's one in for this year.
There's one in this year. There's always one in.
So
Yeah.
maybe we should invite the police chief to come and kind of see what they're looking. It's a new chief. I don't know, did he come before you guys at all for that?
The budget was prepared 2 chiefs ago.
Yeah,
It's been a group effort.
Stamp.
The advisory obviously is going to be worth, it's too late to do anything for a town meeting.
Yep, no, I understand.
And the advisory is
Oh, yeah.
going to be worth,
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the advisory is going to be working with him anyway, because so many of those salary numbers and all are going to be changing. So maybe there's some way you can get a handle on a rapport with him.
Yeah. And
just definitely before next year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, if this is right, this should all be done like in the fall, so that it's well ready before the town meeting.
Maybe you can even, they'll even let Kathy and Dad work together and kind of make sure they understand where the numbers are coming from.
Exactly, and hammer those numbers out so we have some confidence in them. And because the numbers sound.
Yeah.
I agree. When I read them, when I pulled them up, I says, something ain't right here, but I mean, all I have is the sheet to go.
We can maybe see if we can get you in with Kathy. She's a longtime administrator over there.
Please.
Yeah, she's been there 20 years.
She's the power behind the badge over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I looked at the garage, the highway department, they put on less miles according to the spreadsheet than the police department does. They show about maybe 100 miles a day.
Yeah, they only work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
I think the max that they ever put mileage on is when they're snow plowing, right?
Oh, that's true. That adds up. Yeah.
We had a pretty blistery winter this year, but in the last couple of years, it hasn't been too bad, knock on wood. That, so the mileage generally would peak during the winter months.
Yeah, that's true. And our whole fleet is designed to accomplish snow plowing. And that makes excess for every other job they do. They don't really need 5 big dump trucks, except when it's snowing.
Or if they're doing plowing.
To get back to your question,
No,
what do we do? I think it makes sense.
They do a lot of vendors.
Probably
Hold on one second.
we probably go back to the select board and we say, we have this data on the mileage and the maintenance costs of the cruisers. We'd like to firm this up. Basically, ask for permission / direction for you to sit down with Kathy.
You could probably just get that from Bob, actually. You probably don't.
Yeah, we can send Bob email saying.
I mean, I don't think it would be worthwhile to have the chief in yet. He's still getting his feet under him in terms of any of this.
Yeah, you want somebody who really knows.
Yeah, and the impact really, I mean, there's one vehicle in there, and I don't see a problem with getting a vehicle for this coming year. It's the year after.
Yeah.
It's 23. Do we we'll give them one in 23 or push that off?
Well, we've got to understand the issue better.
Yeah.
You know, and I keep thinking of the resident who came to advisory, this was maybe a year ago. You know, raising the question about this replacement schedule, and her point was, hey, our personal vehicles, we're all holding on to them longer. We the individuals are sacrificing. We'd like to see a comparable sacrifice on the town side.
Exactly.
And there's a certain force to that argument.
Well, they're now supposedly tracking maintenance by vehicle. So,
and I haven't seen any of that yet.
So, but if that's true, let's run a little experiment. Let's run a couple of higher mileage and see what the numbers are, instead of going by anecdotal.
Yeah. Right. I mean, everybody knows from personal experience. I mean, quality of vehicles is dramatically improved. Reliability.
It's part of why they chose to go with the Explorer versus the Interceptors they used to use, the little cars.
I got well over 150 on both of mine.
I mean, everybody in here remembers, 100,000 was almost, that was like a miracle. It's got 100,000. That was like, now that's the expectation.
Yeah, a lot of 250,000-mile Hondas out there.
Absolutely.
And Subarus.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not a matter of trying to squeeze the police department. It's just a matter of trying to be, provide them what they need and also be fair to the taxpayers.
And let's have some data instead of just, we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, and I remember during that, one of the advisory meetings that came up, that's where they said that they had the mileage kept. If they kept track of it, where the whole maintenance schedule was done by vehicles when that came up as well. By Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, that spreadsheet that you got, I mean, there should be a separate spreadsheet like this for each vehicle.
And there may be. It's just a matter of how you get it.
Yeah, well, it took me half an afternoon to put their file into this format.
Right, but she might have a code input so that the source data is available.
So then, I don't know if Bob's still on. I don't know he's on you. So you'll talk with him about arranging to meet with Kathy from the police department.
Yeah.
Have a conversation around vehicle data.
I'll get them an email.
Sounds great. Good.
The highway department, we don't have any information, even though it was on the agenda. So I don't know. Do you have anything from the highway department?
I don't, and I thought that you were going to bring something forward on the highway department.
Bob said he had information from the highway department.
Oh.
He said he had that data from the highway department. All I have is what I pulled off the capital sheets and plugged in here. I don't even think the spending sheet that they gave us back in December only had police vehicles on it.
Yeah, and from talking to Mark probably 60 days ago, things were holding up better than he expected, and that 5-year projection that he had before, he was going to be.
But he does have on the current list for 22 is $265,000 dump truck, $75,000 tractor, $15,000 roller.
Well, the dump truck specifically, I know that he was saying no, that he doesn't need it yet. I don't know.
Does he have any vehicles on the warrant?
Nothing at all. But it wouldn't be unusual for him to wait till fall.
Okay.
Didn't we buy a tractor not too long ago?
Well, when we say tractor, when we bought the John Deere front end loader a couple of years ago, that was like 175.
Yeah.
We bought I think we bought a small roller. I used to call them steamroller. I don't know if they're not, obviously not steamrollers anymore. But,
yeah, pavement roller. But I thought
he's got a truck in 2017 Ford F-250, one in 2008, one in 2012.
Maybe,
F-450 in 2019, that was 54,000.
Right.
A dump truck in 13 and a dump truck in 16.
he did say that that roadside mower tractor was something that he was thinking about.
There was a loader built in 2016. That was 165.
And the ones that he wanted to get are the ones with the hydraulic arms like they use on the highway rather than just the.
Oh, is this a replacement or is this an additional piece of equipment?
I don't know.
No, it was replacement. None of them were. Let's see, it's a tractor.
Although
A New Holland 2120 bought in 99. It's 20 years old.
okay, so that's the one that the blue one they do the roadside mowing with. So that's what he was talking about possibly doing.
That's
Yeah.
20. That's 20 years old.
Yeah.
That's 20 years old.
30, 40 years.
He's got that in there for 75. And he's got.
Maybe it's only used not so often.
Yeah, because it's.
We could give it to the park department.
They don't have a mileage list.
You can tell. That's a legal
A
vehicle in town.
multi-quip, whatever that is.
All right.
Multi-quip bought in 2013. It says R2000H. I don't know what that is.
All right, well, he's got
That's the
nothing.
roller.
Okay, he's got nothing on this warrant, so we'll have to find out if he's got any time for the fall, but.
I have some handwritten notes, and it was from information we got back in December. And there was, I don't know, fiscal year 2022 requesting replacement for the 2008 F-250 pickup with plow for $51,550. Is this foreign information? Do people remember that?
I think they did that.
Okay, and then it says fiscal year 2023 requesting replacement of the 1993 Mack dump truck.
Yeah, that's the one he said
That's
it
the one
looks
I'm
like.
talking about.
Oh, okay, I'm with you now. Okay.
That's the $250,000 one. That's the one he
Okay.
thinks he can go a little longer now. They're
Okay,
all
all
running good.
right.
Well, the F-250 is kind of like, it's like police cruisers. He's got a bunch of them
Yeah,
and they have to turn them over.
He's got
okay.
3 250s. He's got a 450. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dump trucks.
Yeah.
You know, it's got some hard use.
Yeah.
And then were you talking about fiscal year, it says 2024, might be requesting the replacement of the 1999 New Holland tractor for 120,000. Do you have something about that?
No.
No.
Well, yeah,
That's in 2026.
That's the tractor you were talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Which wasn't that 70?
That's the John Deere. No, the tractor was the New Holland.
Right.
The one she just mentioned is the John Deere.
Yeah, but weren't they replacing one to get the other?
No. He's not showing giving up anything. He's just showing replacing. There's a John Deere, a 1997 John Deere, and there's a 1999 New Holland. He's got the John Deere, the New Holland being replaced for 75,000. The John Deere being replaced for 125, but not for another 3 years.
I can't picture it on here.
It'd be green.
Oh, that John Deere.
I'm just trying to picture it. I can't.
I don't know what vehicle that would be.
Unless it's some kind of mower. I know he's got a fancy mower. It's a model 544G.
Oh, okay. Whatever. All right, what else you got?
So on that one there, you know, we've always talked about having to be sure that we space out budget for big ticket items between departments as well as within the department, so that we don't get slammed for expenses. Do we have a good sense then of the sequence and of replacement of the highway department vehicles, where we're at? Maybe it's just me, I can't follow all the.
No, he's gonna get, he said there's a dump truck in there, or a truck in there,
This year.
other than that.
No,
Yeah,
there's
from, well, in
They-
that
they
sheet
need-
that you gave us
they
a couple
need-
weeks ago.
Yeah.
there's no truck on the warrant
No truck. on
for the fire department,
There's nothing
for the
it. Highway department.
highway department.
Okay.
And
I think the only vehicle that is up for consideration is the fire department.
well, there's one cruiser in the budget, right?
But I mean, that was a discussion that we had years ago. I mean, we used to consider the cruisers capital, and they're more like operating expenses.
They're expensed, yeah.
They've gone more over into the Kleenex category. You use them up and get rid of them.
The problem is we have two different levels here. We have
I'm sorry, it's yellow.
we have the trucks and stuff that
Big bucket loader.
we have the trucks and stuff, you know, the F-250s at 50 grand, or the fire truck, the fire departments pick up at 50 grand.
Mhm.
You know, we don't have to borrow for it. It comes more or less out of the operating budget. We've got that $100,000 to $200,000 a year or so that's available for that kind of purchases. And if it's a big dump truck, okay, we can pay for it 2 years, you know. And then we've got the couple of $1 million for this building and a couple of $1 million for that building that, you know, takes a little bit more planning. The trucks and vehicles, you can usually just like push it a year or so, and then you can cover it. At least that's the way it seems to have been working in the past. Prioritizing is a good thing for our committee to do, you know, if it's a matter of which truck you push off another year. But the financing is really pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, the smaller vehicles we basically paid for with free cash over the years.
Yeah.
You know, we take excess revenues and we apply it towards those one-time purchases.
What about something like the tanker, the $400,000 fire tanker?
Last time we bought a real fire truck, I believe that we took half of it out of stabilization and did the other half on a 5-year note.
Okay.
So we paid like $50,000 a year on a note on it. And then, and we had thrown money into stabilization, which is another thing, you know, I encourage the town to do so that we can take these hits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stabilization money is what took care of the tree crisis.
Yeah.
You know, because we had done a good job there. So, yeah, I mean, that the $500,000 is like, you know, that's twice as hard as a dump truck, but but a whole lot easier than a building.
Well, and maybe they'll look out, maybe there'll be some grant money that'll help offset some of that expense. They can find one.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of fire service grants out there. They just have to apply for one. And be awarded it.
But we need to do a building first, where you can fit a truck in it.
Do you happen to know Munson is going through this too, for a fire station?
No.
Oh, Maura, you let me know that.
Yes, it was posted on last night online. I believe on Mass Live that they're using Trenton or some company, Triton. And they're going through the same thing, only they're looking for like overnight space and all kinds of other things.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I'd be interested to see, because they're not using who we use. And I don't know how they came about to
Do
find.
they have a 24-hour
Yep.
department now?
Because they have ambulance service. Because sometimes their ambulance will come if we need them.
What's their facility now?
It's down
I'm trying to
behind
picture
off
it.
of Main Street. So when you
Oh,
go,
behind the town hall.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you have to go down.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
it's fairly, they already have a 2-floor one, I believe.
Yeah.
2-story.
Like one of those, you know, playing fields.
No, it's underneath. If you have to go, the town hall is like this super old stone building, you go down the Stack Road. It's just there, it's right behind where Main Street Tavern is.
So
I mean,
wait-
their station is bigger than ours, but they have the ability to have pull-throughs. I mean, we don't really have that, but
Well, they're big twice the population we do too.
yeah.
They have twice the population?
Oh, yeah, they're over
Really?
10,000.
Munson's spread out pretty
Oh,
good.
wow.
Oh, they got more miles of road than damn near anybody.
Not all paved.
No, try going from Bumstead Road to Kmart.
Uh-huh.
It's all Munson.
Wow.
It is a big area.
Yeah, the company's Tecton.
Tecton, I knew beginning with T.
It'd be interesting to see how they do with theirs.
Yeah, I wonder if they're using a different method for taking it, like a needs assessment and input from their personnel, because that's where I think Mitchell and Associates kind of went off the rails there. You know, pie in the sky versus what we.
We had 3 vendors to choose from. We chose them.
Okay then.
But they have similar issues, storage, bunker space, things like that.
So other than updating the spreadsheets, get some requests out to police and highway department, or Bob rather, to get this vehicle data. I don't know if there's much else we can really do.
Does anybody know, has the selectmen taken any action to get more into the fire department situation?
I don't know if they formed a committee or not. They mentioned it on the one call, but
Okay.
I didn't see him post for anything.
Yeah.
Post a request for everybody to be on the
Yeah,
committee.
maybe we get through town meeting, they'll get some more time on their agendas.
Yeah.
The one thing I would suggest is adding the townhouse onto this listing.
Good point.
You know, this building is gonna cost us some money.
I actually found all that stuff.
Oh, look, maybe I just tagged it wrong and it didn't come through on the file. Yeah,
Well, you know, I mean, there's a study, but nobody's really got a plan.
That study now is what, 3 or 4 years old.
No more than that.
Longer than that,
Oh,
2017.
4.
4 years. Yeah.
yeah, I'll get the townhouse on there.
They were talking about 600,000 or 700,000 back then, so I mean, it's gonna be a lot higher than that.
Well, yeah, and it's gonna take some creative solutions if this building is kept.
Oh. I have an old vehicle replacement schedule. It's FY 2020 to FY 2040. It's from 2020.
That was from the last committee.
Well, let's see how often we've met. That the highway had 4 Fords, 3 250s, 1 450, 2 Mack dumps, 3 Mack RD 690P dumps, the John Deere, a Volvo loader, the New Holland, a multi-equip roller. There was a trailer for a stow and a trailer for a big Tex, and they had a compressor and a wood chipper. So.
Yeah, those are.
But it sounds like the make and model and the year, place and service information. I'm happy to loan this to you as long as you give back to me.
Back to you right now. I think it's the exact same.
Is that the one that we got in December? I don't.
Yeah, this is the one from December.
December, yeah.
That's from, well, I got that over a year ago.
In December.
Maybe it never
Bob
changed.
sent it to us in December.
Oh, no, I mean, but I only had that one printed because I found my capital planning folder from last year. Because we never actually had any meetings.
Because it's got the same mileage I was just talking about, 1,000 miles on the one cruiser, 3,000 on it. I have the spreadsheet.
Okay.
The file's called 25-year capital plan or something like that.
Yeah, because this is the vehicle schedule stuff for 2016.
And what of the townhouse? Where would an elevator go? I just need a visual.
The one place that was suggested, if you wanted to utilize everything, is right over in that corner.
Yeah.
If you put it there, it comes out in the Melville room,
Okay.
right down at the base of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out up one level down at where the office level is.
Right.
It comes out here, and then it comes out on at the library.
Okay.
So you could walk in the front door and go to that elevator and go to any of the other 3 levels. That's one possibility. The other one is that back entrance
Yes.
the one that I always sneak in.
Yeah.
By the generator, there's probably a way to sacrifice that stairway and get 3 levels,
Okay,
probably not the Melville room.
okay, but Melville is used quite a bit for committee work.
Well, it is used, but the question is, you know, can we put uses in that room that are not required ADA, or use the silly little riding thing or whatever to comply?
Well, I don't think you could do that,
Lisa,
Pardon me?
because somewhere along the
Oh,
line.
how do I do that? What? I didn't shut anything down. I don't know if that's because Bob and I have been, I don't know if he's there still, but
Don't worry about it.
anyway. When we set it up, it was to be an hour and it wasn't supposed to shut down.
And you could, there's possible that you can put an external elevator on too.
well, didn't someone say something about like, if you did it over here by where the police entrance used to be? In
So
the
that was
parking
the one I was
lot?
talking about. You could
Yeah.
get, you wouldn't
But
get
it
pickup.
wouldn't impact the ladies' bathroom upstairs. It was
Possibly.
something like that. It said that if you did it in a certain, like where the police was, you'd have to forfeit the ladies' bathroom. When in all honesty, we could probably take one bathroom and have one
Well,
and have
you,
it co-ed,
you could,
non-denominational, whatever you want to call it.
well, if-
Gender neutral.
Yeah, that's
If,
the word.
if you sacrifice the current stairway, it wouldn't interfere with the ladies' room.
Yep.
If you put it where the police bar, that's where my office is now, the old holding cell. That would sacrifice the ladies' room, I think, but you know, this is just, you just throw money at it, it'll solve the problem.
But it needs to be done. The elevator, it needs to be done.
Well, there are people that say, were people that were saying,
Yes.
if they're gonna close Thornton Burgers, let's just move everything over there and not waste any money on this building.
Right.
And I said, that's fine, but you gotta tear it down. Or sell it. Because if we're gonna keep it for other purposes, we're in the same boat. We're still maintaining this whole building.
Right,
And, you know, I like this building. A lot of people hate it,
right.
you know, but the one thing I got out of that meeting with the school department is they are not looking like they could give up that space real soon,
I
no
don't
matter
think they
what
can.
happens.
I think they've grown into it now.
Yeah,
And I don't think that if they moved out, they'd have nowhere to put a lot of those programs and offices. They just need that building.
so
is
I
what I read.
don't see that becoming available for other uses.
That certainly narrows our field of consideration.
Yeah, I think so.
So that means that we have to look at this building and
And I'm thinking this is the #2 project after the firehouse.
this building is.
Well, that, I mean, what's gonna come of the police station? I mean, we're regionalizing dispatch. Could we have regionalized when there was if an officer has a criminal, you know what I mean? They could be going to one place versus.
That ain't gonna happen in our lifetime.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I mean, it's a waste of that building to sit there and not
The
use.
building's already
It's
built.
gonna be wasted, believe me. It's gonna get, you got officers are gonna be going through there. It's a base of operations.
Yeah. Can you imagine what we would have had at town meeting if we said, we'll just turn our policing over to the state police?
Is there some entity or someone that can, besides yourself, because you're very well informed, but about the whole like placement and cost of elevators and all of that, an architect or somebody?
There's a lot of information in that report.
There
Yeah.
is.
Start with that. That's on the website still, I think.
I think so.
Okay, so what you were describing, because I think I read some of it and I was trying to picture, I'm hung up on the elevator thing, but so for 3 levels, it would be here. No, 4 levels.
Here
it would
you
be
can
here.
hit every floor.
Okay,
You put it right in front of the clock,
yeah,
then you enter it here, you can come out on the Melville room, you can come out across from where my office was before I moved, and you can come out up in the hallway in the library.
and that wouldn't eat any bathrooms or whatever else.
No, it would take room out of the auditorium here, but obviously.
So why would you even consider something else? I mean, because this
Price.
way it makes the whole,
It's a 4-station elevator is probably more expensive than a 3-one.
and yet,
Because you have to make sure the interior structure is gonna be able to manage having that space there.
Yeah, they tend to be more freestanding than they used to
And
be.
they try to put them now on the outside versus in the inside.
and this
When
is,
you can.
yeah,
One of the big conversations when this report first came out was if you do X amount of renovations, now everything has to be ADA.
30%, yeah.
But there's some loopholes there that money you spend to make it ADA doesn't count toward the renovations to make it have to be ADA.
Gotcha.
So you put $250,000 into an elevator, that's not part of that plan.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the ADA, it got to the point where all those doorways up in the library all had to be removed because of the widths and the handle heights, and it was, of course, then we'll have Connie after us because we're taking out historical doors.
You know, I would venture to say that probably is very little in this building that is compliant.
Right, but so the question is, can we do there enough?
That stage is not accessible.
Can we do enough renovation to make it serviceable without triggering an ADA full compliance?
Well, it's certainly possible, but I think before we get to that, I think what we have to have is a functional assessment of the building. I mean, what is the plan for this building? Do you plan on having a big space like this for occasional meetings? I mean, we don't have the Boy Scouts doing the car races in here anymore. I'm not sure it was the Cub Scouts that did that. But I mean,
soapbox or Pinewood.
Pinewood, yeah. I mean,
I went to one of those.
I went to several of them. But I mean, you know, the functions have changed, and so I think, you know, looking at putting a lot of money into this building. What's the best use of all the space? Yeah,
you do have other uses. The library, when they were open for business, we're in here at least 2 days a week. You have the elections. There are a couple.
I know.
You have some things we need a big space.
Yeah. You're talking about this particular room, or
this particular room he's talking about.
Okay.
That's what he mentioned. Okay. But yeah, you got to reimagine the whole building.
Yeah. You know, I think taking the police department out of here was part of that process, frankly.
And you know, the next step is the library. Is if you really want to keep this building, but we don't have enough space, then you build a freestanding library.
But what's interesting with libraries is, you know, with everything digital, do they need as much physical space as they used to? Now, I love the library. I mean, I love books. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, does it make sense on long-term planning to look at expanding physical space for a library?
I don't know.
Well, or does it make sense? Like, I wondered why would we ever consider moving the library if they were going to expand the senior center? If we were going to not use this building, you still have to find a home for that. But I mean, it would also allow the seniors that they're going to put the sidewalk in from Centennial Commons. It would allow people to access the library from the senior center. And maybe the thing we should be considering is adding the library over there so there's more accessibility to it, to those that kind of come. I mean, there are people who go up there and they meet and they do like reading classes, other things just not book related.
I've thought of that. That's a logical. If we needed a new home, that's the first place I would look, is on that property.
Yeah, put throw the library temporarily over in the school.
Not with the way it's being used right now.
Really? They really used fill up the space. Huh?
Yeah, the library right now houses a lot of the other supplies that they needed for all the COVID stuff. I mean, that's like the warehouse where they're keeping all the cleaning stuff, and
they're going to be using it this summer for summer school.
Yeah. And it's air conditioned, so they can
well,
use
that
that
was
area.
logical because that way they could still do their summer cleaning at the other school.
Right.
So that made sense.
Right.
I don't think we're gonna, come up with an answer tonight, but I mean, I do think that this building has to be seriously reconsidered.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be high on the list, yeah.
And not just, replacing this and that. I mean, significant, redesign of.
How are we going to use it for the next 20 years?
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, I think that's what I only remember because it was Deputy Chief Farrow mentioned when we were talking about the fire station and what they did in Wilbraham, because Wilbraham kept the facade of their fire station, but they renovate all the other stuff. I mean, of the historicness of the building. I mean, are we held to keeping some sort of part of it, the front of it, or anything? I mean, can we potentially redo some of the interior to adjust it?
I don't think we're bound by any.
Yeah, no, it's and I'm even the people who like it like me, it's not because of its historical significance. It's just, I always thought it was a solid practical building.
It's a cool building, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you don't see buildings that made like this anymore, but.
And it was free.
There's a lot of sentimental attachment to the building. I mean, when you look at websites and stuff, Town of Hamden, here's the, you know, I think people, the townspeople would support using it in some.
Well, especially if it's a practical solution.
Sure.
I mean, maybe maybe it's looking at someone to come in and basically assess it from a remodeling standpoint of being able to use it.
Well, that's what their report is.
Oh, I thought they were just looking to make it so that it would be ADA compliant and not making some of the space functionally compliant.
No,
we talked about the bricks falling off, we talked about the ventilation.
There's some cracks in the foundation. Apparently the mechanicals could use a serious upgrade. You know, the heating and air conditioning.
But did the report look at it from usage in terms of, I mean, things have changed even in 4 years.
It's been a few years since I've read it.
Okay.
No,
you know, what we were talking about, what are we going to use this particular space for, or?
Maybe that should be our homework, is all of us review it and find out, and then discuss what it doesn't tell us that we need to know.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Yeah. And so if with 2 weeks, it's on the website, right? And
I think so.
Yeah. Because as far as accessibility, we do conduct certain businesses that the citizens have a right to be able to walk in and do, like the town clerk. You shouldn't have to do your business up here. Or...
No, it's actually like even the early voting. A lot of towns have it right in the town clerk's office.
Right.
It's not ADA. They can't. They have to hire staff to come up here.
Right.
But so, like, I mean, that's what makes me wonder about if they. I don't remember how big the police department was. I always wonder if there would have been an area that could have been set aside for the town clerk, or certain offices where people have to be.
But the whole landed space over there is wasted. I mean, in reality, the police department and the senior center are on one lot.
Mm-hmm.
You got 10,000 square feet on like 17 acres over there. I mean, why? The entire thing could have been demolished and everything could have been put over there on that lot.
Well, one of the arguments for the police department is having the criminals unloaded and drunks unloaded in the same place that the library was and the seniors were hanging out and that type of thing wasn't a good idea.
But I thought it was like, because they had one way in, and in most police stations, they have like an in and an out, like you have an intake and then you have an exit.
It's physical separation.
That, I mean, you could have still, I mean, look at the municipal buildings like Ludlow and them. They have, I think Ludlow is one of them, but they have some of their town facilities in the same building as their fire department and their police station. I mean, they share a building. There are other towns I know that have their fire department, police department in one building, and they also have all their town offices. That, I mean, I remember Vinny, when I first moved to town, had said that, you know, he would have loved to have seen them do something with that. So
we have a police station, we have a firehouse. We're probably not going to integrate that into a town hall now.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that.
I don't know.
No. Why be different from?
So.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about the town hall next time?
Sounds good to me. And yeah.
You're gonna do it on the 18th or the 15th?
It's the 18th.
18th is Tuesday of May, the 15th is Tuesday in June.
Oh.
Right, right? Oh, yeah.
Well, in between there, I'm on vacation, so it don't matter to
Tuesday,
me.
May 18th. Topic will be. Everyone has their homework.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to note was on the meeting minutes from the last meeting, I wasn't here.
Oh.
And I don't know if there was anybody else who wasn't here. Because it just says all the people's names, but it doesn't say who's in attendance.
Really?
Okay.
Because I wasn't here for the Becky meeting.
You weren't on the phone?
No,
Who was on the phone?
maybe Pam Rogers.
Pam was.
I didn't think Pamela was, but.
That was the one meeting I think I probably missed.
Yeah.
Because I was still out in the Worcester area.
Was that the meeting where Pam chimed in and said, I'm here too, or something?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, 2 weeks to the 18th.
Okay,
Two after that's gonna be Memorial Day.
Maybe we'll
So
know
As I
the
say,
following
leave
week.
it in the.
and
No,
I
leave it in the
like
middle of June.
your idea, Dick, about, okay, review the report and what isn't it telling us that we need to know or need to discuss.
So you weren't here. Nora.
No, I'm sorry.
I think it makes sense. If we can get the firehouse squared away, then this place. Is
It's doing pretty well, I think. Got a lovely,
have a new water connection.
Adjourned.
I'm calling to adjourn.
Oh.
All in favor of adjourning?
Yeah.
Uh,
There's a paint job on the warrant, but it's only a $12,000 paint job, and the Historical Society is gonna chip in 10 of their own money, so.
I just didn't know, I mean, I know they had a pretty big purse over there.